In this video, I'm going to share why I've decided to stay single. I've just turned 40 and this is a commitment that I've made. The reason I'm doing this is because I think there's a lot of pressure on single people to change our status, to get into relationships. It's as though eventually getting married is the standard by which we're judged. And I think that pressure is really unfair and it results in a lot of bad decisions being made. So I've made this commitment, and in this video I'm going to explain why by sharing the 5 biggest reasons I've got for why being single is so wonderful in my life. And then at the end of the video, I'm going to talk about whether for me this commitment to being single means forever single or if it means something different. The first reason for me for staying single is that I give up on these bullshit idealizations of the perfect love. These are the idealizations we grow up with. We see them in Hollywood movies, in the rom-coms, where love is the end goal. It's the most beautiful state to be in. That's what we all need to aspire to achieve in life. I don't think that's based on reality. I think when we've got these ideals, these fantasies about what love is really going to be like, we end up feeling like we're a bit incomplete unless we've got that in our lives. But the problem is that these ideas are this external force that's created that comes in and conditions how we approach people. So for example, if I've got this idea of the perfect woman who's going to meet one day and it's going to be so wonderful and the relationship's going to be amazing, inspiring, joyful, all of these wonderful things, then I've already got standards by which I'm judging people even before I start getting to know them. And I think that that's a little damaging. That means that my expectations for what this could be actually start to shape how I experience that in that present moment. And for me, those just aren't the kinds of human connections that I'm inspired by. Those aren't the human connections I want in my life. I don't want all of my relationships, all of my interactions to be shaped by fantasies. Instead, I want my interactions to be grounded in the here and now. I want them to have a sense of possibility. So giving up on the fantasy of love for me is the most important reason for staying single. Actually, let me explain where I am because I'm sort of dodging mud here. I've got the wrong shoes. I'm walking around Wimbledon Commons right now. Love being back in London. This is a beautiful place, but it's been raining all day. So I went and sat nearby in a cafe waiting until I got my chance to share this video. So I'm probably going to slip over into mud pretty soon. So the second reason is that you don't end up in mediocre relationships. I think that when you feel like there's something wrong with being single and that being in a relationship is the norm, then you're more naturally disposed to just being with not just anyone. I'm sure you're going to have strong feelings, but you're more likely just to enter into relationships that end up being quite mediocre. And I can tell you from my own life, by having committed to being single for such a long period of time, it takes something and someone very special, very wonderful, very beautiful for me to change that single status. So I do have a number of ex-girlfriends that I remember very fondly, and we've still got, great connections and everything like that. And it was just a wonderful experience where I really felt like I was growing and evolving with that person. We were sharing this path in life and just really wonderful. So for me, something I can say about myself, even though I haven't had many relationships, I have been committed to being single. I've been walking this path alone for a very long time. But something I can say that I'm really happy with is that I haven't had any mediocre relationships. Everything's been really wonderful in its own way because I've been so open to that without needing to just fit things into this idea of what a relationship needs to be like. So that's the second reason. There's no mediocre relationships. The third reason is that I'm able to live my best and most authentic life. Research has been carried out that compares married people with single people in terms of their life satisfaction. And there is a famous study that concludes that when you can find the right partner, you end up having a life of fulfillment. Well, this was a follow-up study that went a little bit deeper into it and concluded that there's many examples and many situations where people who were single and experiencing a lot of fulfillment and then end up in relationships, and I'm sure this refers to the mediocre relationships that are out there, but they lose their sense of determination, their sense of focus in life, that sense of freedom that may have driven those people. So in my case, I've been able to claim hold of the desire to live an authentic life, a life that's really unique to me. So freedom's really important to me. It's not to say that you can't experience freedom in a relationship or in a marriage. I think if you end up with the right person where you're walking a similar path together, you can experience those things. So these aren't rules, these are just reasons to share. We've always got to be open to new things and continue evolving, but in my case, the commitment to staying single is what enables me to continue committing to myself, to my growth, to my freedom, to my advancement in life. I'm continually determined, continually trying to do new things, and that's something that makes me really happy. The fourth reason for staying single and committing to it is that you give up on the fear of being alone. You give up on the idea that there's someone out there who can complete you. Now for me, that was one of the most damaging ideas that I had, and I had it for a very long time. Being in London now, it's made me think about my past. I used to live in London 10 years ago, and I was doing a PhD, and I remember thinking that I was different from everyone around me. I was really special and unique for doing a PhD with a scholarship and building this business on the side and all of these wonderful things. I had these unique beliefs, and it ended up making me feel incredibly lonely. And the reason it made me feel lonely was because I thought I was so special. And then I thought that I could only connect also with similarly special people. So I was always on this search for that very unique person, almost like my other half, someone who really shared my frequency. But because I was always on that search, I got really scared of being alone because I felt incomplete. So by committing to staying single, what you're also doing is sending a very important message to yourself that you are whole and complete on your own. You don't need anyone to complete you. You don't need that special other half. You don't even need to focus on your uniqueness so much. You don't have that fear of being alone anymore, so that doesn't drive you into the wrong situations, in the arms of the wrong people, because you're fully committed to being whole on your own. This brings me to the fifth, and for me, the most important benefit of staying single, which is that you increase the amount of interactions and the quality of those interactions with a greater variety of people. Now, let me explain that, because that can get a little bit controversial, but before I do, I can see straight ahead a beautiful lake, so I just want to show you that. I don't know if the colors on the video are going to do this justice, but it's a magical place. I'm going to go to the other end and give you another view of that. Then I'm going to explain why I'm taking such value from my greater variety of interactions as a single person. That was a pretty special place, wasn't it? Let's go a bit deeper in here. My shoes are getting absolutely ruined, but whatever. Okay, so there's a great benefit to being single, which is that you've got more interactions with more people. That's more experiences of life. That's more people to learn from. That's more people to actually grow with, not necessarily the one person over a long period of time, but more and more people for shorter relationships, for shorter flings, for shorter friendships, for multiple friendships, for whatever the case may be. A greater variety of interactions, that's something I value highly. By committing to staying single, I get more of that into my life. But here's the thing, it's not just about going around and having shorter flings with lots of people where you don't really learn and grow and evolve, and it's not really about committing to staying single and shutting yourself off from the world and being unsure about those interactions. For me, it's about approaching people in a very different way, and this is something that I've only learned recently in the last few years, and it's something that I'm continually trying to focus on more and more. And that is that when I meet someone, instead of focusing on what makes us different, so you know when you're in a conversation and you start exploring different beliefs around culture or politics or society, and it's usually pretty interesting. I used to get in these debates with people, and I used to try to prod them and, get on people's edgy sides and see what makes us different. And that was kind of interesting for a while because you feel like you're learning from people in some way. But now I've got the disposition of increasing the amount of interactions I've got, but continually looking for what I've got in common with people. Where are the intersections of our beliefs? How can we combine what we know? Where are our overlapping passions? What are the skills we've both got? And then what's kind of adjacent to those things so that you learn from a different place. So it's not about being in opposition to everyone around us. It's about continually finding the common ground, the things that connect us, and then having experiences from that place. And I think that when you're single, you can increase the amount of interactions you've got. You increase the amount of people that you connect with, and if you can embrace that idea of continually looking for what you've got in common, for what you share, for the shared drivers, the shared different perspectives in life and things like that, then I think there's just so much possibility before us. It's just a wonderful way to live life. I can't think of anything better. I'm completely committed to this way of living life. So the question now for me is, does this commitment to staying single mean that it's a fixed and final state? Does it mean that I'm going to be single forever? The answer for me is that the commitment is about embracing something with all of my passion. It's embracing it with everything I've got. So I'm committed to staying single for very good reasons. I don't think that being in a relationship or being married is the norm of society. I want to create a new norm, which is to be single, to be whole on my own, to be complete, to not do things through fear, to not do things because I think that someone else is going to complete me because I'm whole and complete on my own. But it doesn't mean that being single is a fixed state. I don't think there should ever be rules in life. I think life is dynamic and constantly evolving. I think that when I embrace this way of living life, I'm going to meet more and more people. I'm going to be more and more open to possibilities. I'm not going to focus so much on what separates and divides us anymore. I'm instead going to focus on what we've all got in common. I've got no doubt that I'm going to meet more and more wonderful people on this journey from this commitment of living life. And I think it's so important to be open to new possibilities, to be open to walking this path alongside someone else. I guess the key thing is that for me, if that happens, that sounds wonderful. I think I'm open to it. But if it doesn't happen, the life of being single is a wonderful life. There's so much beauty in this life, and I think it's something that we can start to embrace more and more. So let me know what you think in the comments. Are you someone who's committed to the path of being single? Do you disagree with what I'm saying and think we should focus more on getting into relationships, being more open to that? Do you feel like there's another half that can complete you? Let me know in the comments, and make sure you subscribe to the channel if you want to see more videos like this.